Today, 4 daily practices that train men to control triggers and strengthen integrity. Welcome to Sacred Grit, a podcast equipping men to conquer addiction and overcome inner struggles through physical, mental, and spiritual disciplines so you can become a man of honor and integrity. I'm Jason Lyle. Now let's get to work. Today you'll learn, through practice, you can close the gap between impulse and action. 4 daily practices that can give you control over your addiction, and how to build spiritual resilience, not shortcuts. This episode is brought to you by David Dodd, Edward Jones McDonough. All right, my dude, let's get right down to business. Now, stick with me here because there's going to be some science, and this science matters. I know our male brains want to shut off when it comes to the boring stuff, but trust me, you want to know this. Here's the essence of all that I'm about to teach you in one sentence. When you can learn how to control your fight or flight response, you can learn how to control your impulses, but it takes practice. I'm going to say it again. When you learn how to control your fight or flight response, you can learn how to control your impulses, but it takes practice. Now, there's a mechanism in your brain, and some people call it a trigger, which has become kind of a buzzword, right? Like you've probably heard it used in the context of I'm triggered, which usually means they expect the external stimulus to be remove itself, or they'll continue to be quote unquote triggered. But I want to work inside that trigger mechanism itself, right? Like what really trips that off to begin with before we start saying, well, I'm triggered. Because here's the thing, when we allow outside stimulus to impact our internal world, we're giving control of our lives and our impulses to something else. So when we're quote unquote triggered, if we can't control the trigger, we want the thing to go away. That's why so many people have to change their living situation when they're trying to get sober, right? The porn addict has to give up his smartphone or get some kind of a blocking software. The drug addict has to go to a residential program. The food addict has to throw away all manner of food and replace it with healthy food. And this is necessary in the beginning, but it's not sustainable, right? It's not realistic for the rest of our lives that a porn addict will never have access to porn, or a drug addict is never going to be around drugs again. So we have to create the capacity to be triggered, but then gain control ourselves inside of ourselves. And that's what we're doing here. We're putting space between thought and action. We're stopping to give away the power of our lives over to other things, those external triggers, and we're taking control of our internal life. Now, what I'm not saying is that there's anything wrong with, getting rid of your smartphone or, having to go to a residential program or cleaning out your pantry. I think all those things are amazing. And I think you have to do those in the beginning because you need every bit of space that you can create. But here's the thing. If you don't create a way to be okay in and of yourself, well, as soon as those things come back, they're going to trigger you just like they did before. So this is about creating space. Now, God, as Jesus teaches us, as a helper inside of our control, but we have to access that helper. Now, this reminds me of when Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is in you. Jesus taught that when people tell us, oh, the kingdom of heaven is somewhere else, it's over here, it's over there. Jesus said, don't listen to them because the kingdom of heaven is in your midst. That means that it is in you and it is in me. So the question is not, can you do it? The question is, do you have the resilience to access the divine in you? Can you get to it, listen to it, obey it, right? Not read books about it or listen to people talk about it, but can you get to it inside of you? Listen to it, hear it, the still small voice that's inside of you, because that's what these practices do. Jesus also said the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which is the smallest of seeds, but grows into a large tree. And what this means is our smallest effort, when worked at, creates the largest of change. So if every little bit, those tiptoe steps that I talked about on Sacred Sunday, right? It's just these little bitty steps create large change. It's compounding returns. Now, but here's the thing. It's up to you. We have to start with the idea that nothing else is coming, right? There is no outside source that can fix you. You have to fix you by accessing the divine in you, the true you. So here's the reason that these practices work. First of all, there's yoga, right? Moving your body. The sensations of craving are felt inside of your body, and usually we just act upon them, right? Without ever realizing that we are. We just feel an impulse and we act on it. It's an automatic response, right? This outward stimulus and we respond. But when we learn how to feel our body, feel the subtle changes in our posture, our breath, our muscle tension, we can feel the trigger before we act upon it. So yoga teaches us how to feel our body in space and time and feel those triggers. Now, next is the breath work. The Wim Hof method is what we call it nowadays, but it's sumo breathing. It's been around for thousands of years, and here's how it works. You take 30 deep breaths, as deep as you can inhale, and then you just let go. You're not pushing the breath out. You just let go, and then you take another breath. And I have a video on YouTube explaining the whole process, but you just take these 30 deep breaths. You can access this information under Wim Hof, whatever, but here's the thing. After breath 30, you let all the air out and you hold. You just let the air out and you just hold your breath, and you find peace in your mind and everything calms down. And then you start to negotiate with your mind. And let me tell you what I mean by that. After you start to hold, you'll eventually have to breathe because, we have to breathe. Our body's going to make us breathe. And when you do, that's your autonomic nervous system telling you that you have to breathe. But you can negotiate with that breath and try to stay a little longer. Now, I'm not talking about staying minutes longer. I'm talking about miniature microseconds longer. And even the smallest of pauses allow you to build space between thought and impulse. Now, eventually you'll have to breathe. And so you just take this deep breath in and you hold it for 15 seconds, let it go, and you start over. I do 3 rounds every single morning. And then there's meditation. I get in a comfortable position, focus on my breath right at the end of my nose. Thoughts come up, but instead of staying with the thoughts, I come back to my breath, and I do that over and over. I mean, you can start with the smallest 5 minutes if you want, but we're learning how to observe our thoughts here, how to see our thoughts and catch our thoughts and see them before they act upon them. And then there's the ice bath or cold showers. Once again, it's not about how you do it. It is about if you do it. If you're intimidated by ice water, try 15 seconds of cold water at the end of a shower, a hot shower. Then maybe try 30 seconds, work up to 2 minutes. Then maybe try cold water immersion, because here's the thing. Cold water sets off that fight or flight trigger immediately, but you sit with it. And this is the big one, because this is where you build the real spiritual ball sack, man. This is because it is here that you access your inner grit, your helper, the divine, the God within you. Now you can see how all of these practices are creating this discomfort in and of yourself, right? And then creating this peace in and of yourself. Now, the cold water is an external trigger, right? It fires off like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. And then you just bring it back down and you calm it down. This is what I teach coaching. It's what I teach on the men's retreats. All the men that I work with one-on-one, this is how they learn how to control their impulses, right? Now, here's the thing. God is in the try, not in the give up, not in the quit, not in the addiction. God is in the try. If you try, you'll make the smallest steps toward your own healing. God will meet you there in those small steps. Like Jesus said to the woman caught in adultery, right? He says, I don't accuse you. Now stop sinning. He's saying, don't worry about what you've done. Worry about what you're going to go do. And that's what I'm telling you. You have to stop worrying about what you've done, because that's done. But you have to worry about what you're doing in this moment. I just talked to one of my guys just a few minutes ago on the phone. It's about doing the next right thing. So the question is not, can you? The question is, will you? Because it's up to you, my friend, to get better. I'm offering you tools, but those tools will only work if you use them. Now, I can tell you this. The success rate is 100% for those who stick with the practices. Every guy I know who's gone back to old behaviors is also the one who quit practicing. So far, those who practice on a regular basis see healing and small incremental changes as compounding returns. Now, here's what I believe. If men everywhere started to do these things on a daily basis, the world would look so much different. Men would stop losing their minds when someone pulls out in front of them in traffic, like happened to me and a buddy in Colorado just a few days ago. Men would stop shutting down when their wives want to have a conversation deeper than, what do you want for dinner? Men would stop looking at porn and using drugs. The world would come alive with men fully alive, men with sacred grit. Because, brother, the power to beat addiction isn't out there. It's in you if you're gritty enough to practice every single day. So today, here's what you learn. Through practice, you can close the gap between impulse and action. You learn 4 daily practices that can give you control over your addiction. And you learn how to build spiritual resilience, not shortcuts. Well, my man, thank you once again for listening. You make this possible. I appreciate you. I hope these tools are helping you out. Down in the show notes, you can see my Calendly link. You can book a 15-minute free consultation. We could talk about what you got going on. You can go to thesacredgrit.com. The October men's retreat is sold out, but there's one in January. You can see all that on the website. And then finally, my email is down there. You can click on that and just send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Now, Jody Morgan, my band, my buddy, MMB Dentistry, Maguziak, Morgan, and Brown. That would be mmbdentistry.com, mmbdentistry.com. Now, here's the thing about Maguziak, Morgan, and Brown, man. They are some fine people in Griffin, Georgia. They also have an office in Zebulon, Georgia. So if you live down that way, look them up, mmbdentistry.com. Make an appointment, go in there, and give them your business because they are wonderful, wonderful people. All right, my man. I hope you have a great week. See you on Sacred Sunday.